folks, we are live today and talking about redesigning my personal brand. What are the goals of my personal brand and what is the overall vision, right? And vision is something that is you're not going to achieve in one go on one iteration, but it guides you sort of in a long term way. And then what are the goals that you can derive from them that are measurable and achievable? As a designer, I'm going to start most likely with my audience and who are the audience that are looking for this content. We're going to talk about what users I'm going to target, what they are coming to looking for on my personal brand, or what value they are looking for in all of this. And another thing we're going to look at is how can I map my social media strategy along with that. It's about the overall online presence and not just about the website. But the website is going to help us focus the brand, and will be the sort of single spot to send different people into different directions, as we will see when we progress. Who do you think my target audience is, and who do you think what do you think they are looking for? 3 keywords. Meanwhile, check out this thing, 10K designers t-shirt. Abhinav sent this over. He just sent this over. This is 10K designers is his project where he's running a designer masterclass, and there's a bunch of other projects he runs, including Whiteboard FM, this podcast with Mayank. So if you haven't checked that out, you should go check it out.
Yeah, big guy, yeah, government.
One of the first people that obviously come, that are biggest, I think the footfall happens in guidance for designers. Okay, Tamanna says guidance for designers. What I'm going to do is write designers right here because that's the next thing I'm coming for. And who else? Any guesses? Designers is for sure. And then there are some PMs, and I'm going to club them together and call them product folks. Right, because there are a bunch of folks that come under designers as well. There are product managers, there are marketers that follow me. So there are a bunch of professionals, right? Overall, product folks or pros, you can call them. They are the second biggest group, right? And if you see some of these students, right, they will enter the startup world, and they will become some of these designers in the future. So like many of you are. Shreya Shekhar says founders. Kushal Yadav says startups, SaaS product, psychology. Ritesh Patel says informative live stream. Thank you so much, Ritesh. So I completely agree with Shreya. Founders, right? Future founders or today's founders, or what we call CXOs. All these positions like CEO, CFO, COO, right? These are all CXO positions. Yes, college students and product professionals. Arpita got it very right. So these are 3 main group of people, the kind of people that I target, right? And you can see like some product folks either students will directly go on to become founders, or some of them will go here. Some founders go back to become designers and PMs in the industry, but that's like, those are, looping funnels which keep on reducing. There are some more suggestions. Nikhil Sajjan says people who want to shift from development to design also. Yes, so there are people from non-product, let's say non-design and PM fields, right, also shifting, but they are also grouped in together as product folks, right? Kunal Kumar says aspiring UI UX designers, definitely we are looking for with something where we can get assignments and evaluations so that we can make our portfolio. That's a brilliant way to put at it, actually. Kunal, beautiful thing that you brought up. You will see how that particular idea, how we map, from all the way from students and this transition that I'm talking about, right? This right here, this big arrow right here of students becoming some of these pros, right? That transition, how those particular kind of content where you can, where I do design reviews. In future, I'm going to do mock interviews, etc., how that helps. So let's roughly map out what these folks are actually looking for when they come onto my website, right? The biggest things, if you look at my college talks, majority of them are around entrepreneurship, around self-improvement. So self-improvement is the biggest, I think the most generic content I make. It comes in many forms, like from my IG lives. I have not done much of it on YouTube yet, but on IG I do quite a bit of that. And if you look at my talks on TEDx, etc. as well, they are not about design or product at all. That is the biggest majority of people. But some of the folks also get interested in startups, right? And they will go on to become again designers, engineers, or PMs, or founders and CXOs later on. Seen one YouTube live on my YouTube live on my YouTube already, where I talk about the entire product building process, right? So that is part of capturing the interest of folks who want to transition into that sort of role. For all these product folk, what do they have to gain from what I'm talking about? So biggest thing is shared learning, right? They want to, let's say, people who are already working as designer, I want to share what I have learned. There are some new the frameworks and ideas I want to share, right? They can be looking for that sort of thing, and they can be also looking for community. I'm looking for community building thing. Community, for example, the design roundtable or industry roundtable you see is completely revolves around community. The kind of content you produce for community should be around the kind of things you want to see more of. The reason for me doing that women only panel was because I want to see more women and more minority folks, like underrepresented folks, be represented more, right? So I want to continue to do that sort of thing. With founders and CXOs, again, this comes around insights, how to use design and product, how to use UX and design and product management, right, for business, right? How to map this. This is what they are looking for, and or often they are looking for hiring, right? Hiring either using my network to hire folks from my network. They often reach out, like new founders often reach out to me. Hey, can you recommend somebody who can become the first designer and kickstart the entire process? Kunal says we are willing to pay right now for such classes and subscription. I'm sure it will help you make personal brand. Kunal, gonna come to that eventually in some form of subscription, this thing, but right now I'm gonna try to make it as accessible as possible, because I'm not interested in charging as much in money right now, to be very honest. My financial motivation out of this is not that high. When I feel that somebody's perspective changed, right, they were able to unlock some part of themselves, see themselves in better light, or moved in some way emotionally, I think that to me matters more. I seriously, like, that drives me way more to do content. Pawan Shah here is asking right here, I can't move my finger over it, but he's asking about how to get started on UI design. First, learn the tool. Second, start to replicate some of the existing apps and some designs you admire, so you know whatever you can imagine, you can replicate. It also trains your brain on certain patterns of how UI design is done. Then you want to start to continue to study basics of UX. You can pick up books like Don't Make Me Think and continue to develop your UX understanding and your design vocabulary. And that will finally you want to pick up a problem statement that you can call up 10 friends about and do user research. And then you want to finally take that problem statement and make iterations to solve that, then test out prototypes with those 10 users again, or different set of 10 users. So that's in very brief, how you can get started. If you are interested, you can check out the entire playlist I have on getting started with design. If we create a mind map from here, right, there's video content. Let's talk about formats now. There's video, there's written, right? There's audio. All of these combined, right, sort of give us what we call mixed media. Mixed media is something like, I have a post about it as well on 2020 design industry trends on medium.com. But mixed media is like when you have audio, video, text, everything together, like Instagram stories or TikTok, right? So there's mixed media. And as you can already see, you can map on the side these social networks, right? These are the format that I have, right, in terms of content. These are the formats. And social networks, what I'm talking about is where these folks are. These people that we spoke about, that actually we spoke about them way over here. These people that we spoke about, these people. So these are people. These are the value they're looking for, and we remapped sort of value here, which can become sort of a content map. If you can imagine, these are all my categories, right? These all you can imagine as simply the first version of all the categories I will have on my YouTube, on my blog, on my podcast. These are the categories that will exist. And if you go on YouTube, you can see these categories already emerge, right? And these are the people, and people I can find, they are hanging out somewhere. There's a party. Why should I, before you can create a party, you got to hang out where the party is happening. That happens on social networks. So what kind of social networks are we talking about, right? The first kind of social network, let's say my favorite one. Oh God, I didn't change the color.
No, God, please, no.
All right. So first one, my favorite is Twitter. My second, then there is obviously LinkedIn. In no particular order, right? What I'm trying to say is this is written, there's mixed media. So mixed media is going to be almost everywhere. So we're not going to map that anywhere. We are just mapping the dominant kind of posts that go here, right? Then we have podcast, right? Then there is Instagram, that includes IGTV, right? And that it can include like Dribble and other kind of stuff, TikTok, and then finally YouTube, right? And as you can see, this maps right here, these map right here, Instagram, and audio maps to podcast. So this is where they're hanging out, and I can continue to produce all of this type of categories of content in various formats, right? And to provide value to these people, right? And that is the entire map of the personal brand. So people, these kind of people, right, different kind of people that we spoke about, will hang out on some networks, right, where I push my content, right, push content here. So networks, what happens is people start hopping on these networks, right, from one to the other. So engagement, cross engagement increases, and then finally I'm able to lead them to my website and hopefully to my blog or my newsletter, right? Or get you to follow on any of these networks. The newsletter is an interesting bit. I started a newsletter long back, but I've restarted it again, and go check it out, because newsletter is one of the things that survive test of time. Your YouTube can die, maybe you get disinterested in YouTube or something else happens with your brand, but newsletters audience is something which is your audience. No one can take that away. Like on Instagram, your engagement can drop. But on newsletter, if you continue to provide value, this thing will stay. So Arpita says, question: is it possible to figure out what you want to share over time, like as a beginner? For sure. Like the kind of clarity that you're looking at my notes right now, I did not have that for the longest time. Like in only last couple of years when I started doing more, did I get that clarity. And you will see how this maps back to what audience has told me what works, what they want or not, right? For example, in this chat, I realized that you folks like getting feedback, like practical feedback, so you can improve the quality of your work. So that gives me another idea of like how to refine this content categories more. So I want to, like, within that category, I want to do this kind of stuff because my audience is appreciating this kind of work from me. So the more you do, the more you learn. Initially, you want to keep it very simple. You really want to focus on one kind of audience. I have developed this over past 15 years. I've been doing this, like my domain is at least 15 years old, my personal website domain, right? So it will evolve over time for sure, Arpita. Like that makes complete sense. You won't have all the clarity in one go. So so we have blog, newsletter, and we got, if we were to summarize, we got self-improvement as one category, right? And we got product as another category, and we got business as another category. We have really simplified the entire brand, that this is the value that my handwriting sucks today, I don't know why. This is the value that I create content on and I push to these networks. So that leads to more people coming here, and then I push content here as well, and this loop continues, right? The biggest thing that happens is what I'm looking for, to be honest, from all of this, the biggest funnel lead for me is real life interactions, right? You won't believe the kind of amazing folks I have met from Twitter after lives and after a lot of these. So these real life interactions, right? These connections, or let's call it network, right? This is my main goal for my brand. And why focus on network? Because in my understanding, like I was talking about money earlier, right? In my understanding, network is a better mapping for net worth, right? This I've experienced, because what happens is the kind of people you know, that's the kind, then they know about the kind of work you do. Then the kind of opportunity, the more people know what kind of work you do, the more opportunities come your way, right? So that becomes very, very important to understand. That imagine I started doing all of these design portfolio reviews as paid, and then I'm really, in my opinion, when I could have used that to build network, right, of more students learning from this, more students knowing about me, more of them turning to designers in the industry. I think that's far more valuable in terms of network and influence you have over the community than versus the short-term money that I can make. But you can completely replace network as your goal from as if you're a freelancer, getting clients could be a goal here, right? So for me, that's not the case. But if for you it is, then very similar model could work. But then the kind of subcategories you define here, right? We were talking about these values, right? These categories and values. You will have to redefine what you do here. For example, in your case, it may be more case studies, it may be more business impact, right? And more community-driven ideas to build authority. One of the questions I still get is, what do you do? I still get that on Instagram a lot. Second question I get a lot is that, what can I expect from your content about? And almost equally, what is your content about? And the third question, these two I get almost equally. This is the biggest one I get, right? The third question I equally get is, how do I participate? What do I mean by that? So if you know, I have portfolio reviews online, after which I'm going to do mock interviews, after which I'm planning CV reviews of product managers, etc. Profile reviews, LinkedIn reviews, where we can look at, maybe we can start personal brand reviews, right? Tomorrow. But how do you participate in all these community interactions that I do? So I hope that helps in terms of, these are the biggest question I get, so I know these are pain points already. In my existing brand, I have figured out much of this, how to communicate this, and data will show us that. But I know from my, I went through my Instagram chat a bunch of this, and I've been noting down these points as well, because I made standard answers for these, and that's when I realized my website doesn't do enough job, good enough job of it. So let's look at that, right? Like, what does that website? So this is my personal website right now, as it says, designers builder public speaker. My critique is, like, it's just too text heavy. It's nice that it's I like the fact that it's plain aesthetic, because trust me, like, adding more colors in this or making it more nicer, I'm just gonna be so conflicted. And you folks, like designers, will understand. No, like, designing your own portfolio is the hardest, because I can't pick one color. This color has worked for me for the longest time on my blog, so I stick to it. I also don't like the social media tab. It just doesn't merge well with this entire thing. I don't like these emojis. They don't go well with the writing and the tone of the website. I think this is slightly cleaner way of doing social media, but I'm still not happy with. I don't know what you folks think. Like, I want to know, just critique the website, like, icons. So that's my personal website. That's my Twitter. If you look at it, same thing goes here. Design UX product at Headout. I speak blah blah blah. YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, so you can see design product things repeating here as well. Then if you go to Instagram, same thing appears here. Here I start with a different note, because mostly students, I engage students with mostly on Instagram. The link is of my YouTube, so if you land here, which works a lot because of the discovery, most of the folks discovering my Instagram ads, which are about these videos, so it works well from that angle. See, this is /home, sorry, this is /work, this is /talks, right? This is features, this is 64notes.com. So here, when I switch back to my data layer, you can see that the biggest one is homepage, obviously, right? And this is time spent. I've done that by time spent, so look at quality of folks. The next biggest group of people by time spent is work. Anyone would look at my work to get an idea of who this person is, right? So I think I can change my work page slightly around that, which becomes more of an intro to my professional self and makes it easy and more visual. The second biggest one you see is speaking, obviously, which is students going to talks, etc., or looking for those videos. That's about students. And then there is obviously my blog, 64 Notes. If you don't know about it, I've been writing here since I was 16. Really, really ancient. Like, you can see if I go to blog and like archives, you can see I started writing here in 2010. So in 2020, it's been 10 years. Then, of course, I have my newsletter that I spoke about. So this is how most of the folks travel. But let's take a look at chat once more. Shreya Shekhar says, before checking out any other platform, I first checked your website. I was interested in your talks back then. Now I'm more interested in portfolio reviews, etc. Shreya, I think that's the best example of like you turning from just self-improvement to specifically about the product and this content. Amazing that you joined in on live example right here, folks. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you for that comment, Shreya. Really helps to validate some of my hypotheses as well. I already hear my name. In fact, all of you folks, 20 folks here, 20 folks, let me know in the chat, how did you first hear about me, if you remember? Srinivas Teja says Instagram. Spidey says Puneet Chawla was live with you. Ooh, nice. So Srinivas Teja says TapChief webinar. Wow, very interesting. Never knew that. So Ritesh Patel says Instagram, then YouTube, then your website. Ooh, nice. So that is the trajectory you took. So because Instagram has my YouTube link, and from YouTube there's an about page. Kumar Rohit Chandra says the interview series you started on YouTube. That is what got me because saw it on LinkedIn. Amazing. Kushal Yadav says Instagram. Definitely. Shreya says when I stalk designers, I check if they have portfolio or not by default. There should be an aggregation of work. I feel definitely. Definitely. I'm going to come to my portfolio in a single second. I'm going to show you my portfolio and my honest opinion about it. Now coming to types of content, and simply speaking, there's pillar content that we talk about. Pillar content is like introduction to type design, introduction to design for non-designers, introduction to various things. The hardcore solid, like I'm working on like a video called Ultimate Guide to Design Titles. I recorded that last weekend. And then this is what we call pillar content, right? And second kind of content that you can talk about is discovery content. Discovery content is like the one I wrote about Ariel and Helvetica, how to find project names. Let's say Lota video, right? Because NID people may be interested in, that's a keyword that get interviews, right? Interviews is how you will discover me because you may know Puneet Chawla, you may know, Chetan CVS, or you may know Madhuri, who then I interview them and then you get interested because of them and then you discover about me as well. So interviews are discovery content, and this is two ways to look at content, and you want to create both kinds of content, right? There are many frameworks for content. Another framework that I like to mix and match with this, long form is typically, not always, but linked to pillar content. And then there is micro content, as we call, like on Twitter, etc., which is around discovery. But on place like Twitter, where you create long form out of tweet thread of micro content, it can do both. It can serve as a long form, this thing, you can turn that into a blog post and make it long form, but that becomes a discovery piece because people will like and retweet and do all of that stuff. For example, I did the Lota video, then all my notes for that video, I turned them into Instagram posts. Now I can turn that into an Instagram thread as well, right? So the same, people don't like to leave social networks. Like, it's easier for me to read a tweet thread than click a video and then watch 11-minute video. But I am on YouTube, then I will do that, right? So reusing the same content and repurposing it for different places also helps. Another last thing to talk about is micro content's purpose is to show you the breadth of the content, right? How vast can be. You can discover a vast amount of topics. If I create a lot of slider posts on Instagram, you can just quickly browse through and get introduced to new topics, right? TikTok is that as well. Of content that I did not include in this, which is what I call cluster content, right? Which is also a subtype of discovery content, but these are like, let's say, top 10 videos, top 10 frameworks you should use, 10 designer tips in 10 minutes. I don't like creating all of those buzzwordy because but I've been learning that they can be done well. I follow some YouTubers who do them well, so I think I'm gonna try that. I also wanna make comedic side of that, like 10 shit CEO says, 10 things designer says. We have Kumar Rohit Chandra says, when I first checked your profile, King Siddharth felt a bit pompous. Totally agree, that's the point. But now it's cognitively attached to your personality and the awesome things you share. Thank you so much. I think I know that initial barrier added there, but I think that also helps me like trigger an emotional response, right? Like an emotional brand any day, even if you had a negative emotion, is more memorable and has more chance of getting remembered than this thing. And honestly speaking, I did not have much choice in this. I used to have several domain. I used to work under several pen names. Back in the day, I used to have tens of blogs, and one of the pen names I used to work was King Siddharth, and it stuck around so well that all other names just sort of naturally died out. I used to have different Twitter accounts, different Hacker News accounts, different usernames. All of them died out, and this one just sticks around and is very memorable. Shreya Shekhar says, how about including success stories and testimonials, like we show metrics? I love that. I think some kind of metrics and success stories I want to include, and that reminds me of like Shreya, great thing that you mentioned that, because that reminds me of my portfolio, right? Here it's written in a very, my target here was to write in style of The Economist, very crisp, dense this thing, and highlight numbers like these. So I think I'm going to move some of this content because I've gotten good feedback about some of it. I want to rewrite some of it because after reviewing some of the portfolios, I myself like want to redo some of that. If you remember, we talk about portfolios. This is the thing I follow myself. First, problem statement, then the insights, the key insight that led to that, and then I jump to solution immediately, right? And then you see the details, right? And then you see the results, and then even more thing about like even more jazz if you're interested, like how that maps to market, how that maps to all of, and this is the team that if you're really interested, who is included. But these are the things like my role was here this, and the company was Instromojo. So I think I'm gonna move this content to my slash work, like add these pages as sub pages under work, and reuse this website for building tools for designers. I've been thinking of creating a website where I can keep uploading all the links to a curated website just for designers for all the things we do, all the videos I make. So I can have a start here page where you can start with, okay, start with design like this. All these questions people ask me. Now we're getting ideas, right? And we'll do more ideas in next videos, but this is one of the ideas of solution. What I want to do is create hub thing, right, which has start here, right? Can have start here, which can link to videos, and then it can have like, okay, now that you're done here, check out portfolio review, participate in that, because now by the time you will have that, then we can do a mock interview, and then I can also add, let's say, frameworks here that I share, all the case studies I share, right? So one hub for designers that you can find everything that designers and PM need that I've done around design in one place, right? This is one of the ideas that was floating in my head as well, but all of this conversation and thinking about this triggered as well. What do you folks think about that? One website where if you discover that you're interested in design and I talk about design, you come to that website, it says new here, start here, want to transition, click here, and then it has all the details about other folks. So let me know what you think in the chat. Speaking of chat, let's switch to chat. What is chat saying? Anurag Shukla says, do you think building a personal brand in design niche is worth if we keep it focused on Indian scene and case studies from India? There's a huge gap for like designers focused solely on India and building that narrative. Please jump into that. We need thousands of you, please, right? So please build that brand. You can super niche down into that as well. So Anurag Shukla, you are on gold mine there. If you start building that brand today, 10 years later, you'll be writing books on the topic if you do it the right way and you get the right projects. Like you could totally, for example, become a full-time design content creator on this topic and then connect with other designers who are in this domain and uplift them and bring out their stories and become known for that from that. It's completely possible to make a media/design personality out in this domain completely. Great idea. Give it a try. Shreya says, how should a designer who can code UI front end as well showcase that skill on portfolio? I think what you can do is, in the end, hey, by the way, I coded this website myself, add the link to GitHub profile. And if your PM or whoever is looking at that knows about it, will definitely look at that, right? So keep the questions coming, folks, loving them. And then Shreya says, but focusing on majority on the design role. Yep, so your entire case study would be there. But you can always talk about I coded this up. Second, you can talk about I built this prototype. I coded this prototype because certain prototypes interactions can only be coded nicely unless you know coding, so you went into Framer and coded that up. So you can always give code to that, open source code to that, or you mention that I coded up this prototype to test with users. And the reason I did that because traditional tools, non-coding tools, prototyping tools were not cutting it, right? So that is one way to really highlight. And folks, if you find any value in this, please make sure you like the stream, because when you like it, more people watch it. Now coming to Isha Deshpande says, can you make something primarily for startups in India about branding? Isha, that's a wonderful idea. I may not be the best person here because I've not built, actually, there are two Indian brands that I've worked with, ClearTax and Instamojo. And I know some designers who are specialized in building brands for India. I think that's a great topic. Thank you, Isha. I'm going to add that to my content plan. And that's a brilliant topic. Let me see what I can do there. Siddhartha says, +1 to some prototypes should be tested in code. Yep, so that is how you can showcase that, right? And you can continue to build those tools and now open source them. Tomorrow we are doing unproductivity tips on Instagram Live. So make sure you are following me on Instagram and join me there. What is unproductivity tips? Unproductivity tips is all these productivity tips, frameworks, do this, do that, to-do lists that do not work for me. To-do lists work, but like, there was something missing. I'm going to talk about that. And motivation, when people go like, hey, pandemic time, like don't waste this time. That sort of thinking doesn't work for me. It puts more anxiety in me and FOMO in me than I like. I like to take it easy and think in long term and like pace up and pace down, and without like being impulsive and reactive towards the timings. Siddhartha say, calling it right now, video highlight reel making as a service, someone will start it up. For sure, for sure, for sure. I think Shah says, which one platform should newbie designers most focus on, Insta, Twitter, or any other? Honestly speaking, pick any and go after it. Like, if nothing else, see where you get engagement. Like, post 5 design posts in a week on whichever social network you are on. See where you get better engagement, and then stick to that one. Instagram obviously is more visual, is more productive for designers. So out of those things, Insta is the obvious one, but Twitter is crazy for networking with designers. So Twitter also works. Either of them works. And yep, that is that, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. In the next part, I will start with mood boarding and collecting ideas and references of different websites to take inspiration, different Instagram accounts, different YouTube accounts to collect references of how other folks do it. I will have a list of people I admire in terms of personal brand and what kind of inspiration I may take from them in building this entire personal brand piece. If you have any references and any ideas for all the problem statements we spoke about today, where you've seen another designer or somebody else done solve that problem very well, please link me up, DM me on Instagram, or leave a comment on the video, and we will do all of that on that live stream. So don't miss that out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it out. And thank you so much, folks, for joining in. See you tomorrow on Instagram.